Better Together podcast.
Welcome to the Better Together podcast from the Fuquay-Varina Chamber of Commerce. We're recording today from the Dashmore Conference Room and Studio, sponsored by Rescued Wood Rehab. The Better Together podcast highlights local businesses each week as the Fuquay-Varina Chamber of Commerce continues to promote an amazing business community. I am Marty Woodward from Rescued Wood Rehab, and I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Brad Marshall from Greater Culture CrossFit here in Fuquay-Varina.
Thank you, Marty, and welcome to the Better Together podcast. Joining us today, Adolfo Lunardi from Fuquay Transportation. Adolfo, thanks so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
So, to kick things off, tell us just a little bit about your business in Fuquay Transportation. What do you all get a chance to do here in town?
Well, we've been fortunate enough to be able to provide transportation from Fuquay all the way out to Clayton, Sanford, and even south of here into Lillington as well.
Wow. And so it's a business that's been around for a little bit of time now. How long have you all been working on helping people get to these destinations?
So we opened up our doors, literally, in October of 2015.
Wow, so coming up on the 10-year anniversary.
So I think we just about completed 10 years, yeah.
That's amazing. And so when you think back to maybe some of those original days, what led you to want to start this type of business and help people out in that way?
Well, when we first came into town, I was in the restaurant business, and my wife Laura was a teacher in New York City. And of course, in New York City, we have all kinds of transportation between cabs and car services like ours, and buses and trains. So I worked at the original Bellini's restaurant, which is what now Eggs Up Grill. And I was transporting. I was driving around a lot of my friends that worked there back and forth to work, as well as like my mother-in-law who was here from New York City. She never drove in her life. She's from Brooklyn. So everything was convenient to her. So after a while, I was like, there's got to be a better way, because we still don't have, good modes of transportation here. A lot of the ones that are here are not really reliable, and, they can cancel on you at any moment. So that's kind of like what brought me to that. Took a couple of years to figure it out, but I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, and I imagine too, because Fuquay-Varina is a growing city, but I think if you were to open up some of the apps or figure out like, hey, how do I get around town, you're still going to be hard pressed to find somebody who's going to be able to reliably get you from point A to point B. It sounds like that's kind of what you noticed as well.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, we were driving, get in trouble, who would get pulled over, or who needs an. So it was just like when we were back at the house, back home in New York, it was like we could just call up any one of like 20 different companies and they would just show right up.
Yeah, and I love that, taking an idea from somewhere else, bringing it down here, seeing if that'll work. I do imagine, though, that in those first couple of years, and even now, like there's certain challenges along the way of like, okay, we've got this idea, we're bringing it to fruition, we're now going to start to try and reliably help people get around town. What were some of the challenges that you've experienced along the way as an owner of Fuquay Transportation?
Well, when we first started, our biggest challenge was money. We went from a New York City teacher's salary to a North Carolina teacher's salary, which was probably a third of what she was making up there. And then I was in restaurants, and probably when I first started thinking about this was back in 2011. Went to massage school. I was a massage therapist for 10 years at the same time. So it was kind of like two part-time jobs turned into a full-time with part-time income. And she was just burnt out as well. So she wanted to also leave her career. So also I think the lack of knowledge of how to open a business and what to do really brought us back a little bit, because it took a little while to kind of figure it out.
Yeah, I think whenever you start a business, you just imagine or hope that things like just take off and everything's great. But all of a sudden you realize like, oh, there's a process and there's got to be patient and timing and things like that. So how did you handle or navigate some of those early challenges of realizing, hey, financially, maybe things are going to be cutting back a little bit and we're trying to grow this business and figure out the business side? And so what were some of the things that you did to kind of navigate that journey at that time?
Oddly enough, one of the first places I went to was the Chamber of Commerce. And I was like, how do I open a business? What do I do? So they gave me some insights of where to go and things like that. And I also went back to my roots and spoke to some of the businesses that were still around in Staten Island, where we were from, and just called them up and say, hey, how do I do this? After that, I also looked into what was a taxi cab. How do you open up a taxi cab? And I didn't want to do that because there was a lot of regulations and a lot of things that had to be exactly the same. And I think that was just a little bit too much for us. The other thing that we went back to was this was when Uber was starting to just come about, 2010, 2009, 2010 or so. So I looked up all of the things that Uber did. So I was just pulling from the different resources that were available. And then, of course, the old Police Chief Smith, the original Police Chief Smith, was really a great help because I would call him a couple times a week or a couple times a month to ask him questions about scenarios and what's allowed, what's not allowed. So that was very helpful. Just asking a lot of questions and researching. And that took probably a little over 3 years to figure it out, really.
Yeah, so I love that, going on the journey of trying to solve problems and figure out the solutions, and relying on people who've carved the path, relying on the chamber and local folks as well. And I'm also imagining that along the way, you've kind of figured out your own niche and kind of figured out the things that make you unique or different as a car service around town here. So what are some of the things that you're proud of, or the things that make you potentially a little bit unique or different than maybe some of the other services that people think about?
Well, I really do think that our reliability is what sets us apart, and our customer service. We've integrated modern technology for younger people that want to go everything on demand on their apps. So we, after about a year and a half in 2017, we adapted an app that was already there and white labeled it, and a website where you can book with us or you can get a quote on either one of those. But at the same time, I always thought about me as a consumer, or my mother-in-law as a consumer. How about her? Where she wasn't tech savvy. She didn't even have a cell phone. So she would want to call. So we set up our phone number and always had a live dispatcher that you can rely on, that you can ask questions about, or if something went wrong, they can give you a call and let you know what their feelings are or give you that feedback. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I know you can. There's an app you can go on, and
Yeah.
you can book a transport somewhere, and you can also call. But what are some of those services that you offer? You can take people a lot of different places and in a lot of different ways. Tell us about some of those services that you offer.
So one of the things that came out of the COVID was food delivery. So a lot of people didn't want to go out. We still were transporting. We went from top of our game, so to speak, from doing like 200 rides a week to 10 rides a week, and we were just driving around essential workers for supermarkets and such. So food delivery came out of that, as well as meds. So we can deliver meds as well. So especially if someone's sick, you don't want them to transport in the car, go back and forth, double up on the ride. So that was also something that unique came out of it. But we also have been transporting students for about 9 out of the 10 years, because we had our logos on the cars, and parents would see our cars and they say, hey, can you bring our kids to school and back and forth as well? So that's something that I don't think we even planned on doing it, but it's something that just happened. Since then, we have done weddings and proms. We have done concerts. We've done tailgating with people. And some of our biggest things that we do is RDU transportation. So that service is at 24/7. As long as we have an availability and a driver to get you, we will pick you up. Doesn't matter if it's 2:30 in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. If something happens where a driver can't get it, Laura and I are the backups. So we're always going to be able to get you to your destination and pick you up, even if something happens. The other service that we're proud of, that we're working on bringing to the community, is our wheelchair service. So we bought a wheelchair bus that was funded by the community. 2 of you also contributed to that, which was very nice. And that is a growing population that needs it. It's not just for elderly people, because that is growing as well. We've been here 17 years. I'm not as young as I was back then. So, but it's also for people who maybe have gotten into an accident or maybe need a PT and they can't drive. So we're bringing that service to light as well, because that's very needed here as well.
And I think you've actually touched on some of this, but that those aspects and those services that you offer, it does help you stand out from your competitors, right? The other Uber type things. You want to talk a little bit more about kind of standing out from those other services that might be out there?
Well, I think those other services like that, and I jokingly call those services four-letter words. I mean, they are. But I think that service that they offer now is something that we've always done. So it's kind of the Johnny come lately on that, because they struggle, for the reliability and for bringing services that are needed. So now they'll do those kind of things. So I think that in that aspect, we set ourselves apart like that, because it's always something that we've done. We always think about the consumer first, because like I said, we're consumers. And how would I feel if I took that ride, how much that ride is and such.
So I see you're always out in the community. You want to talk about some of your community involvement with Fuquay Transportation and some of the special initiatives that you've got going on through Fuquay Transportation?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, when we first started, the chamber helped us out a lot. I think for 6 months, even when we were very, very small, we started with just our minivan that we were driving the kids around in. So we would take all the things out of there and drive people around during the day, and new people would come into town. Hey, is there anybody that can bring us somewhere? So they kept feeding us rides. So we've been part of the chamber for 10 years. And now I've been an ambassador, I think, for a little over a year or so now. And I do like it. I like to recruit people into the chamber. But we also advocate and help with different charities in town. Fuquay-Varina Food Pantry, I worked there for a couple of years, very good to us. We also help raise money for different charities like MMIA, St. Baldrick's. We have done different other charities, including the emergency food pantry as well. And then the next thing that we're doing now is the Out of the Darkness Suicide Walk. And I could talk about that a little bit more. We're part of the Walk for Dean team from Dee and Ray O'Brien, if you know them. They are part of the chamber, and they do a lot of things with the Knights of Columbus through St. Bernadette's Church. So we've joined their team to help them raise money and awareness. So we have a personal stake in that as well.
That's amazing. And I know it's very common to see you out and about at all these community events. And so it's fun to get integrated into the community, to get to know the people, be able to take them all the places they want to go, and feel like you're truly part of it. And I imagine over the 10-year span now of the business here that there's probably been some different challenges, different lessons learned, as you've probably had to adapt and adjust over the course of that time. So can you speak to maybe some of the things that you've learned over a decade of having a small business here?
One is you have to be able to listen to your customers and their feedback. And it's not about, going back to a driver or to someone in your organization and pointing the finger at them. It's about improvement. It's about having them maybe not necessarily be complacent, because when you stick around, sometimes you get a shortcut, or you say, oh, I can do it this way instead of that way. But it's consistency, reliability, being early for a customer. I think that also, if you are engaged with your clientele, you can cater to their different needs. Everyone is different as well. And your teammates are all different as well. So everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses. So you have to work with those things so that you can provide the best service that you can.
Yeah, I love that ability to, one, have a standard that, like, this is what we're going to do and be as a business, and holding the standard, but then also being open to listening to your customers. And it might create some new or unique opportunities for you as a business to evolve and to continue to figure out how you can serve the community. And so you mentioned how you were reaching out to different business owners, Chamber of Commerce professionals, all these different folks to try and help you learn. If you could sort of pass the torch down, if somebody was a young, aspiring entrepreneur, said, hey, I'm interested in starting my own business, what are some of the words of wisdom or advice you might give somebody in that?
Well, I learned a saying back in the day. We've done a lot of different things. We always try to become our own bosses and things like that. And one of the sayings was you have to seize it before you seize it. So you got to see the vision first. What's the end result? What does your restaurant want to look like? What does your business want to look like? What do you want to provide? And then you can work from there, right? And then you need the right support team. You can't listen to the people who tell you you're not going to be able to do it, because then if you listen to those people, you won't be able to do it. So you just need the right people in your corner, like your spouse. I work together with my spouse. You may not want to do that with, because it can be tough, right? But she's a backbone of our company. She's like, I worked in restaurants, so she's like the back of the house that nobody sees. She keeps it going and keeps everybody moving and in the right direction. And I'm in the front of the house where I'm hobnobbing with the customers and making sure that everyone's doing their job the right way, that all the equipment is working properly. And then if there's any grunt work to do, like driving or going out late at night or early morning, that's what I do.
I love that perspective of one, being able to create the vision of what you want it to look like and taking time to be thoughtful in that. And then two, it's like who you surround yourself with is big, because if you do surround yourself with people who are going to, potentially show you all the shortcomings or the reasons you shouldn't do it, it's most likely not going to happen. But if you surround yourself with great people, there's a greater likelihood that it's going to happen. And I know over the last year, to get the wheelchair accessible vehicle was a big project and a big lift for you. I imagine there's probably some things that you're excited about that are either coming up or things you're working towards. Anything come to mind for you now as a business that you're excited to work towards or that you're trying to strive to?
Yeah, we want to get the wheelchair van in particular up to par. It needs some repairs, and we're working closely with some local mechanics. We use Fuquay Tire a lot, and we rely on them a lot. They help us keep our fleet going. I don't know. We are working toward increasing our RDU transportation, because we find that, especially nowadays with people getting back in the workforce, it's not like just remote anymore. So we have a lot of customers that are repeat customers. We still have customers from when we first started, and a lot of them go away several times a year, several times a month. So we want to be able to solidify that even more than we already have. And then we're also expanding our student transportation, because sometimes we kid around with ourselves and we're like, sometimes we're substitute parents. Sometimes we're substitute kids who can't bring their parent to a doctor's appointment, for example. Mm-hmm. Or, sometimes when someone's child or their kids are not around because they're working and they just want to go to the store or just go socialize somewhere. It helps them get out of their apartments rather than just staying there and waiting for someone to help them.
And Fuquay Transportation has kind of provided that trusted service of, you have consistent drivers, you have a consistent business, and it's not somebody you don't know coming to see you. And I think that you've created that involvement with the community by being, hey, you're going to see the same person or the same people each week if I call for a ride, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've had drivers that have been with us for years. Our longest driver was with us for 4 years, and then he probably would still be with us if he hadn't moved to Wendell. But we, outside of a new person, everybody kind of sticks around. I vet everyone really well. I use a local background check service. I do driving tests with them, talk to them, I show them all the apps. So it's very hands-on and involved. And again, if you treat them well and you work with their strengths, they're going to just want to stick around, even when it's slow. Our summer is really, really slow, especially this year. I think all around it's been slow. But I think when you do the right things, then people will want to stay, even in the down times, especially the better times, of course, but the down times as well.
Sure, that's great. It's great to have good people. So now you're out and about in the community all the time. Do you have a favorite local spot or spots that you like to go?
Well, I try to spread ourselves around like with interviews because we don't have an office. We live right here in downtown. I could walk here. It's not even a mile. Um, I do like to go to the Fainting Goat. I'm part of a business group that they open their doors to us every Friday morning. It's called TANG, which is a Triangle Area Networking Group. It's a great group of business owners that want to help each other grow and overcome their shortfalls and their challenges. And I can walk there, and they have great beer. Another place that I think
Not in the morning, though, right? Not in
Not in
front.
the
Okay,
morning.
I'm
Not
just
in the
checking, Adolfo. Yeah, okay.
not
All
in the
right.
morning. I mean, it's always 5 o'clock somewhere. But no, not in the morning. And then we try to frequent a lot of different local restaurants, but one of our favorites is Los Tres off of Wake Chapel Road. They have great food. They accommodate us because we're vegans, so there's not a lot of places that can accommodate the different things that we want to do, or want to eat. And that place is always great to go to. It's always has a great atmosphere. The people are good, and they make good margaritas.
There you go. There you go. But not in the morning.
I'm not eating fajitas at 10 a.m.
So, what's the best piece of business advice you've ever received?
I think is to surround yourself with the right people. Really, don't listen to the people that are naysayers. They want to. It's always easier to say, "Oh, you can't do that. Uber's da da da," or "You can't do that. Somebody already tried that. It doesn't work here." I really just never paid attention to it. I just kept my head down and was absorbed in what I wanted to bring out of my vision. So I think that's really the biggest thing.
So, that's great. And we hear that as a common thread is to surround yourself with those great people. Is there one surprising fact about Fuquay Transportation that you can share that people would go, really?
Well, when we came here in 2008, and I don't even know if there was 20,000 people here, and then I think it's doubled in the last 6 years, 7 years, maybe, for real. But when we implemented our app a year and a half in, it was April of 2017, and we have over 9,900 customers. But that's a pretty big number. I mean, and even still, with all the growth that we have, there's a lot of people who still don't know about us. Today we added two more new customers, which is great. Our app also keeps count of how many rides you do. In that amount of time, since we've had the app, probably just under 18,000 rides in those 8 years. So I've probably done 20,000 rides in the 10 years that we've been around.
That's amazing. It's funny when you get a chance to look back at some of the stats. It makes you proud of, like, look at how many people we've been able to impact and serve and help them get some reliable service. And so for the listeners out there, you mentioned that there might be a few folks who aren't aware or don't know your services. So for those folks who are interested to connect with you, where would you point them as the best place to find out more information or to book a ride with you?
Just simply do a Google review. It brings you to a link to our website, which is fuquaycars.com. You can go there and open up an account. You can just get a quote or even book a ride from there, and download our free app. We are on both platforms of Apple and Google. It's Fuquay Cars in Apple and Fuquay Transportation in the Google Play. But we're also on social media with Instagram and Facebook, of course, and we try to let everybody know about what's going on, what kind of specials that we're running, or what we're doing in the community.
Yeah, I highly recommend checking them out. And as you frequent around town, there's even signs up at some of the local spots that if you need a ride or you're hanging out at a different restaurant or bar, you'll see a sign there. It's a great way to get connected, to get you where you need to go. You mentioned that the Chamber was very instrumental in your business in the beginning. If you can think about what are some of the if you want to think of it as the benefits or the reasons why being a member of the Chamber has been impactful for you, is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, being an ambassador for the last year or so, it has opened me up to how the Chamber can help. Is because, even as a seasoned business or even a new business, you really want someone to know that you're there. You want to bend someone's ear about your service, about what you do. And that's the best place to do it because, we have business breakfasts and after hours and tons of ribbon cuttings. I think just this year alone, the chamber has recruited almost 100 new members in just this 6 or 7 months. And that's incredible. It's the fastest growing chamber in North Carolina. But if you show up and you hobnob with the people and you commiserate with them, then someone's going to remember you, even if it's just one person. And I think the other thing that we have, we realized also is we've done a lot of self-improvement. You always have to get better. We also have a guy that's on a place called Alignable. If you never heard of it, it's Martin Brosman. He's fantastic. The best way you can market your business is, hey, if you're satisfied with what we do, just tell 3 people. Just tell 3 people about us, and that would help us more than anything. And ask for a Google review. A lot of customers, I believe, don't ask for Google reviews. And you're going to get bad ones once in a while, but you're going to probably hedge your bet if you ask a satisfied customer to be more than happy to do that for you.
Yeah, and I highly can put a stamp on those things. I mean, I think Chamber now is almost at 600 members, so a lot of opportunities to connect and learn from other people. The way that you can take something that they're doing really well, implement it into your business, only is going to help the business thrive as a community as well. And so with that, Adolfo, I want to say thanks so much for being a guest on the podcast today. It was really great to hear your story and hear how you've been impacting the community over the last decade with Fuquay Transportation.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking time to let me come in and talk about my business. It's fantastic to be able to let more people know about our businesses and your business and your business. All tout each other's businesses, I think, and that kind of helps the community grow.
Adolfo, you're so right. Cheerleaders for everybody, and the Fuquay-Varina Chamber of Commerce. And thank you to our listeners. Join us each week on the Better Together podcast from the Fuquay-Varina Chamber of Commerce as we highlight great local businesses. From the Dashmore Conference Room and Studio, sponsored by Rescue Wood Rehab, I am Marty.
And I'm Brad.
And we are Better Together.
We're better together. It's a weekly podcast. We're better together. You should know that there's more in the dash. We're better together. Fuquay-Varina Chamber of Commerce. We're better together podcast.